Tony D and Little Joan with a screenwriter's rant on The Patient. Uh, Looks like a mini series starring Stephen Carell as a um, therapist who is captured by a serial killer who wants his help. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Check out my books. Links are in the description. Comedy Horror in South Jersey. It's what? It's the Pineys. Books 1 through 9 available at Amazon.com. Don't forget, Kindle Unlimited is free. So I am intrigued by this concept. Seems like a pretty solid concept. Now, Steve Carell, the guy's really, really funny, and he just keeps wanting to do dramas. I don't get it. I guess maybe he's bored with comedy. He's done enough silly stuff, and it seems like we didn't get enough of a run of Steve Carell's comedy before he transitioned into serious actor guy. But whatever. This looks good. So this is called The Patient, starring Steve Carell and Domhnall Gleeson. Streaming on Hulu. It's Steve Carell as therapist Alan Strauss. The Patient is a psychological thriller about a therapist who is held prisoner by patient Sam Fortner, who reveals himself to be a serial killer. With time running out, Alan fights desperately to stop Sam before Alan becomes complicit in Sam's murders, or worse, becoming a target himself. So I'm not sure when he captured him, but obviously at first he's just a regular patient, but then later in the trailer, they show you he's having problems too. Steve Carell's character, and it's produced by the guys who did The Americans, which I hear was pretty good. I've seen some of it, and the guy keeps hinting that he's way worse than the therapist understands, and of course there's all sorts of stuff going on, and then eventually halfway through the trailer you start seeing the chains on Steve Carell, and he starts telling him that therapy needs a safe environment, and he just ain't listening. He just keeps killing. So I think this is a great concept, because of course the rub here is how much longer before the serial killer just kills him, right? Just gets frustrated and kill him, because these guys can rarely stop. So how does this end is really the question. Does Carell... I don't think Carell's going to die. I think that would be a terrible ending. Right, Joan? Thanks for being patient. But does he turn the tables on him and kill him? Which I think would be the typical way you would end this. Or does his therapy work and the guy breaks down and trusts Steve Carell and goes into therapy even though he's killed a bunch of people, or maybe kills himself? Because a lot of these serial killers, they're so messed up. I mean, if you read anything about them, there's a classic example of, I forget what his name was, but he had killed a bunch of women, and he was escalating to eventually kill his mother, and then he did. And they had very little evidence on the guy, and when they found him sitting in the kitchen. I think he had killed his mother in the same house, and they asked him, like, why didn't you run? Why didn't you leave? And he said, what would be the point? Because it was all about killing his mother. He had killed the other women to sort of practice until he could finally get the guts to kill his mother. So these people, they're not normal. I mean, Jeffrey Dahmer was, really screwed up. These guys are really, really mental. They're just mental. But this is an intriguing concept, because it's a concept you really don't know how it ends. Will his therapy skills be good enough to break through and actually help this guy and get him to stop, or will he be forced to kill his own patient? Or they say here, will he be complicit with the killer? I don't think that. I mean, that would be weird. What a weird ending that would be. He just starts killing with him or helping him to survive, I guess. Maybe. I mean, ultimately, and you're in that situation, you're gonna have to do whatever you can to survive, obviously, but no one would blame you if you're chained up and being threatened by a maniac. the moment that chain's off, you're out the door if you can, and you're trying to escape the moment he's out of the room, pulling at the chain or whatever. So now it says it's streaming on Hulu. I don't know why these guys don't say it's a movie. Like, it says thriller, trailer, but it's on FX. It could be a miniseries. It could be a series. I mean, they could stretch this out for a season. I don't think it could go more than that. I'm going to guess it's a movie. I'm going to go to the IMDb, which I probably should have done ahead of time, but I never do. I know Joan's upset with me. The Patient. Okay. I think it's a movie. I'm going to say movie. The Patient is, nope, it's a miniseries. Yeah. So it's season 1. I don't think you could go more than one season of this. I mean, once he's captured, then it's about getting to the end. You tell me you do 2 seasons of this of him being captured by a serial killer? I don't think so. David Alan Greer's in it. That's interesting. Again, another funny guy. Surprised again that he's not in more comedies. I wish he was. Don't recognize the rest of the cast. But, I'm intrigued. I would watch this. If I had Hulu, I would totally watch this. It's way better than Space Force was supposed to be a comedy. That looked awful. And that was Steve Carell. I have no interest in the Gru movies. I'm too old for that. I mean, they look okay. I mean, I'm not knocking him, but, he's so funny. I mean, he's so funny in Anchorman. I don't want to see a spin-off of Brick, the movie, but I'd like to see him do a laugh-out-loud comedy. Where people are hungry for it, I think. I know, John. I know. So this thing looks interesting, but, hard to break down a mini-series in a 3-act structure, but generally it's going to be probably the first episode or 2. Joan, you can't sit through a 10-minute video. You can't just sit through a 10-minute video. So, like, the first, maybe second episodes are just going to be... if I were to structure it, I would have him kidnapped in the first episode. Like, that would be the end of the first episode. He wakes up chained to a chair, and the real therapy session begins. But you might spend 2 episodes. You might spend the first episode hinting at everything and really establishing his character, and then in the second episode, it's pretty obvious what's going to happen, and then boom, he wakes up. He's chained to the chair. By the middle episodes 3 through 8 or 9, you're going to get the therapy sessions, the guy killing or near killing, escalating. Maybe Carell at first thinks he can keep him from killing, but really the guy is manipulating him, and it kind of goes back and forth that way for a few episodes. And then finally, on the last or next to the last episode might be a setup for the finale, whatever that is. Whether it's Steve coming up with a plan to escape and overpowering him. Although perhaps an episode could be that he does have a way to get out, but he decides to stay and help him because he thinks he's close to a breakthrough, and then screws up his only chance of escaping. That could be an episode. But ultimately, I think you got to end this in 1 season. You're telling me you're going to end this and he's not free yet? You're going to start season 2 with him being still locked up? I don't think you could sustain it that long. I think for a season you could sustain it, but at the end of this season, this one right here, he's got to go free. He's got to go free, die trying to save this guy or whatever. The ending has to happen. We need the closure at the end of the first season. I don't see any way to give us closure and not free this guy and not make it totally unrealistic, right? Maybe you could think of a way, But to me, that would be stretching it out too long. I think it would be better as a movie. I think this would be a solid movie premise, you know? Just that, you know, first act, he has a patient, the guy's a little weird, he's on the verge of either just telling him to get lost and maybe quitting the whole profession or whatever, and then the guy kidnaps him. And then the second act is all about their back and forth. He's escalating, he's going to kill him, he's got to get out of there, he's got to do something, and in the end, he has to use his therapy to have a breakthrough. If he doesn't get a breakthrough with this guy, he's going to die, the guy's going to kill him. He has the breakthrough at the end, and the guy, probably in a movie that it would escalate to, he ends up killing him, or the guy ends up killing himself, or you know, the cops come and, you know, he was finally on a breakthrough, but the cops end up killing him. The most melodramatic ending possible. On a series like this, you know, it's probably something like that, but it could end with, like, he goes to jail, and season 2, you could open it to season 2, where it's about him meeting him in prison. And now it's the opposite, right? Now it's the serial killer stuck with the therapist, who continues to try to help him. Maybe he feels obligated, you know, maybe the people in charge are like, you're the only guy he'll talk to. And you maybe could do a second season, but then there wouldn't be as much tension as when he was, like, killing people in the first season, unless you were leading to him escaping jail and then, you know, pulling like a Hannibal Lecter and then doing a season 3. Maybe you could make that work. I think it would work good as a movie. As a series, I would cap it at 1. But I am intrigued with it. I like the idea that the serial killer kidnaps the therapist he really does want help. That's an indication he does want help, but, like, his life is on the line. He's got to give him therapy. He's got to get through to him, or he's got to, like, you know, bust his way out or kill the guy. So it's an intriguing premise, and I like it. Do I like Steve Carell as the main guy? I mean, now he has transitioned to a serious guy, you know, but it's like, for a guy like him, he's so talented as a comedian, or comedic actor, I should say. I wish he'd do more comedies. Now that he's transitioned pretty much fully to not being funny, it's like, now I do kind of see him as a dramatic actor. In this, he does seem right for the role. In the trailer, he does seem like he's solid in this. He seems, you know, he doesn't seem like he's overselling his sort of sadness and ennui, and he seems like he's acting well. It seems like a good part for him. I believe him in this role. He's the right age. He's not overdoing it. He's kind of understating it. But again, I miss the old Steve Carell. It's, you know, but I also get too that actors, part of their selling point is the image they project, and he's gotten, I think, so far away from the comedies for the most part, except for Gru, where he's doing just the voice and you're not seeing him. I could see why, you know, I mean, there's more money in this, right? And he wants to be an actor. He wants to be considered a serious actor. He's pretty good. I mean, he's not bad. You know, comedy is the hardest thing to do, so he's not a bad actor. He's just been in a lot of terrible movies, I think, you know, and even his comedies, not a great track record there. But I feel a little cheated that we never got, you know, we had the 40-year-old version. That was pretty good, but I feel like there was a big comedy in him somewhere, and we never got it. And I kind of wish we had seen it. Anyhow, that's it for me, Tony D, and squirmy little Joan, who won't sit still, won't sit in her chair, won't do nothing right. So we're going to go. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you